There are women people admire, and then there are women people never stop talking about. Princess Diana belonged to the second category, not because she was royal, but because something about her lingered. Even now, years later, people don't talk about her like history. They talk about her like a feeling, like a memory they never personally lived but somehow still miss. And that's when you know someone had real power. There are some people who don't need to speak loudly to be heard. They don't need power to be powerful, and they don't need perfection to be unforgettable. Princess Diana was one of them. She wasn't just admired. She was felt. Felt in the way she smiled. Felt in the way she looked at people. Felt in the way her presence made the world softer, warmer, and more human. Decades have passed, yet people still talk about her with emotion in their voice. Not because she was royal, but because she was real. Welcome to Pierce Mindset, a space where we decode presence, power, self-worth, and timeless feminine influence. Today, we are diving into Princess Diana. Not the fairy tale version, not the tragic headline version, but the it girl version, the magnetic version, the woman who didn't dominate rooms, she softened them, and somehow that made her iconic. Who was Princess Diana? Yes, she was a princess, but that's not why the world fell in love with her. Royalty gave her visibility, but humanity gave her legacy. Let's be very clear about something. If Diana had behaved like a typical royal, if she had stayed distant, controlled, polished, and emotionally unavailable, we would not still be talking about her. Titles don't create obsession. Distance doesn't create love. Perfection doesn't create magnetism. Diana broke the fantasy of royalty and replaced it with being kind. She didn't feel like someone above you. She felt like someone who would sit next to you. And humans don't fall in love with power. They fall in love with access. Presence. Diana had something you cannot manufacture, something money cannot buy, something training cannot teach. Presence. Her charm wasn't loud. Her charisma wasn't aggressive. It was soft, disarming, and deeply feminine. She had the kind of energy that made people feel seen instead of small, the kind of beauty that didn't intimidate but it invited. Diana's charisma wasn't about being the loudest, the boldest, or the most dominant woman in the room. Her charisma was emotional. She listened like nothing else mattered. She smiled like she genuinely enjoyed being there. She reacted, not performed. And that's rare. Most people are thinking about how they look. Diana was thinking about how you felt. That's elite-level charm. She made people feel chosen. And when you make someone feel chosen, they never forget you. The It Girl's mindset of Diana. Diana It Girl mindset was not about domination, control, or being untouchable. It was about presence. She didn't walk into spaces asking, "Do they like me?" She walked in asking, "How do they feel?" And that subtle shift changes everything. Diana understood something very rare. Attention follows authenticity. She wasn't obsessed with being impressive. She was obsessed with being connected. She allowed herself to be seen smiling too much, laughing too freely, feeling too deeply. She didn't harden herself to appear powerful. And that's why she was powerful. Real It Girl energy doesn't perform superiority. It creates emotional gravity. Diana didn't need to prove she mattered. People felt it the moment she looked at them. Kindness. Diana's kindness wasn't occasional. It was consistent. She didn't save her softness for cameras. She led with it. She held hands when the world was afraid. She touched people others avoided. She listened when others rushed. And what made this so magnetic was that it wasn't pity. It was respect. She didn't look at people like projects. She looked at them like equals. That kind of kindness changes people, because it says, "You are safe with me." And safety is addictive. People didn't just admire Diana. They trusted her. That's why her presence felt calming. That's why crowds leaned toward her. Femininity. Diana embodied femininity in its most powerful form, open, expressive, intuitive, and emotionally fluent. She allowed herself to feel, to cry, to admit loneliness, to admit confusion. And instead of losing respect, she gained devotion. Because femininity is not silence. It is truth. She didn't shrink her emotions to seem composed. She didn't mute her sensitivity to seem strong. She let herself be soft, and softness became her signature. Her femininity felt real because it wasn't curated. It was lived. She moved gently, but her presence was undeniable. She spoke softly, but people listened. That is feminine power, not force, but influence. Power, the revenge dress. The revenge dress is iconic not because it was bold, but because it was calm. That day, Diana didn't arrive angry. She arrived certain. Certain of her beauty. Certain of her worth. Certain that she no longer needed validation. The dress wasn't a reaction. It was a declaration. She didn't explain herself. She didn't defend herself. She didn't compete. She simply showed up, radiant, composed, self-possessed. That's the kind of confidence that stops conversations. She didn't say, "Look what you lost." She said, "Look who I am." And that's why the moment's still considered iconic. Princess Diana didn't build her legacy through control, power games, or emotional distance. She built it through presence, through choosing softness in a world that rewards coldness, through kindness that wasn't performative but lived. She showed us that femininity doesn't have to be hidden to be respected, and sensitivity doesn't have to be erased to be strong. She proved that you can be gentle and still command attention, emotional and still be iconic, kind and still be powerful. Diana didn't try to dominate the narrative, she changed it simply by being herself. And that's why decades later, she's not remembered as just a princess, but as a feeling. A reminder that real magnetism doesn't come from perfection or status, but from authenticity, emotional courage, and a heart that stays open no matter what. If you vibe with this one, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and see you in the next one.